Season 15 is right around the corner, so there's no better time to get you guys set up with the best solo carry champions for every single role. Just before we get started, one thing you may have noticed in the title is that the patch number is completely different from previous seasons. Riot has changed the way they name patches for this season, so instead of patch 15.1 like we would have expected, it's now 25.S1.1. The 25 is short for the year 2025, S1 stands for Season 1, and then the second number 1 is the patch number of that season. Throughout the year, there are going to be 3 thematic seasons, the first one being Noxus, so Riot wants a way to keep track of this in the patch number. Instead of saying 25.S1.1, we'll probably just shorten it and say S1.1 when referring to the patch because the 25 will become pretty redundant over time. While you were enjoying your holidays in December, our top 10 challenger player Strompist was grinding the PvE with one goal in mind, to craft the ultimate Season 15 starter course with SkillCapped. Instead of just explaining the patch changes, we dive straight into how to exploit everything that's broken, from pinpointing the most busted new champion interactions to revealing which objectives truly matter now, which runes are worth taking and which are total bait, and so much more. While everyone in your games is still figuring things out, you'll be way ahead with insider knowledge only a top challenger can provide. So if you're ready to smurf your placement games, check out SkillCapped right now. With our money-back guarantees, there's zero risk, just a massive head start on Season 15. So we're going to start things off with our 3 top lane picks, and one champ who's made her way up the priority list as of late has been Irelia. In the final patch of Season 14, there was a new build that emerged on Irelia that really helped to push her over the top to being one of the best solo queue top laners. Instead of going for the core of Blade into Kraken, a Blade into Hullbreaker setup has really taken over. Players who slot in Hullbreaker second are winning 3% more than those going Kraken, so it's just been a huge jump for Irelia power-wise. The reason to why a split push build like this has become so much better is due to the 14.22 buffs that Irelia received. Irelia's passive damage now applies to towers at 50% effectiveness, while the duration of her passive is also refreshed on towers. So by going Hullbreaker, you really lean into that split push identity and look to take over games in the side lane. After all, Irelia is a champion who wants those isolated 1v1s or even 1v2s if she's ahead, so going Hullbreaker and playing in the side lane is often the more effective play than grouping and teamfighting. Irelia's teamfight is more difficult to execute compared to the majority of top laners, so with Hullbreaker, you just play towards that split push win condition. So the complete core build has you going Blade of the Ruined King into Hullbreaker second, and then Wit's End or Death's Dance third. One champ you really can't go wrong with banning when picking Irelia is Malphite, as his armor stacking and attack speed slow makes it difficult to threaten in the 1v1. The keystone rune for Irelia is Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand, while Biscuits and Jack of All Trades are for secondaries. A top lane champ who has finally been getting some more recognition as of recent, and one of the best solo carries to start off this season is Warwick. Warwick is one of the best, if not the best, skirmishing top laner that you can play, and he just becomes infinitely better the more you learn his limits and really abuse what his kit has to offer. Especially for the lower elos where players aren't as accustomed to seeing Warwick top, you can really use that to your advantage to cheese out so many early solo kills. It's the fact that when Warwick drops low on health, he gains so much sustain from his passive, so you're able to bait enemies into taking fights that look to be hard losing for you, but are actually just hard winning. Taking Barrier as your secondary summoner spell just adds another layer to Warwick's dueling power, and makes it very difficult for opponents to actually calculate if they'll beat you in the 1v1 or not. The only matchup that Warwick has a heavily negative win rate against right now is Teemo, so he's a good ban to consider. Warwick is all about auto-attacking to deal the majority of his damage, so Teemo's blind can do a good job at shutting down Warwick's trading power. One thing to note as well is that we've got a new full game commentary for Warwick up on our website from our challenger top laner Strompist, so if you're looking to learn the champ, that video will be great to help you out. The build that you should be taking on Warwick is a Blade of the Ruined King rush into Stridebreaker second, and it's situational from then on out. The rune setup consists of Lethal Tempo with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Last Stand, followed by Second Wind and Revitalize for secondaries. And for our third solo carry top laner of the patch, he's going to be the best option if you're just looking for a very simple yet effective top laner to spam, and that champ is Malphite. In comparison to Warwick and Irelia, there's just significantly less skill required to succeed with Malphite, and the champ can still be incredibly impactful even if you've only got a few games on him. Malphite should gain even more relative power to start the season off because many of the tanks who have been abusing Unending Despair should become weaker due to the item getting changed. Other than having a few really bad matchups, Malphite is one of the best answers to the majority of AD fighters. His attack speed slow from E makes it so that picks like Irelia, Yone, Jax, Tryndamere, and Fiora have a very difficult time beating him in the 1v1, and as long as you survive early in those matchups, you just heavily outscale come teamfight. Those few bad matchups that you'll want to avoid at all costs are against Mordekaiser and Sylas. Both champs are AP bruisers, so they heavily reduce the power of Mal's kit since he can't stack armor to take advantage of the armor scaling on his abilities. Sylas stealing Malphite R is just absolutely disgusting in team fights as well, so he's definitely who you should use your ban on. The standard core build for Malphite consists consists of a Sunfire Rush into Thornmail second, and then it's situational from then on out. Grab Comet for the Keystone rune, with Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Scorch, while Second Wind and Overgrowth are for secondaries. One of the best junglers for every single elo bracket in the game to start off this new season is Wukong. Wukong slowly but surely gained so much relative power throughout last season due to repeated buffs, and he's finally moved up into a top tier spot because of it. Where Wukong really thrives is when the enemy jungler locks a physical damage champ, as his skirmish power becomes incredibly strong due to the armor stacking from his passive. It's only a select few AP junglers who Wukong actually has a negative win rate against right now, so banning out Lilia or Diana is a good idea. The 2-item core for Wukong that you'll be running in every game consists of a Trinity Force Rush into Sundered Sky second. Third item really depends on what the enemy comp is looking like, as Black Cleaver, Sterix, Death's Dance, and Maw are all viable options. For Wukong's rune page, you should grab Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand, while Freeboots and Cosmic Insight are the best secondaries. If you're Emerald or below to start off this season, then there's one jungler who should be very high up on your priority list, and that champ is Nocturne. Nocturne is so powerful for the lower ranks because his kit combined with how strong his core build is right now makes him extremely powerful. Nocturne is all about finding those catches with his R on players who are caught out of position, and by running the core of Stridebreaker into Hexplate, it almost makes it so that every knock R is a guaranteed free kill. You dive in with R, slow the enemy with Stridebreaker so that they can't escape your tether range from E. Your fear then goes off from E, and you just auto away at them with all the attack speed from Hexplate, while they have no chance of fighting back at all. Hexplate is literally the perfect item built for Nock, as not only does it provide bonus attack speed when you use R, but it also grants movement speed and 30 ability haste for your R. Getting to this 2-item core is key to unlocking the true potential of Nock, so you really want to be focused on full clearing as efficient as possible early on. Nock is not a champ you want to be aggressively ganking with early on, and you should really only be ganking if you know the kill is 100% free, as getting to that 6 and having your R available is what the champ is all about. This is something that makes Nocturne such a good low elo jungler, because he has these very concrete win conditions that you can play towards so that you can be as consistently impactful as possible. Instead of using your ban on a meta jungler when picking Nock, banning out a meta peel support is going to be better value a lot of the time, and right now Lulu is the best option. Rune page for Nocturne revolves around Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand, while the secondary page will be more up in the air to start off the season. Eyeball Collection is being removed from the game in exchange for a vision-oriented rune, so we'll have to see what ends up taking its place. Ultimate Hunter will remain as one of the secondary slots, while it's likely Sudden Impact that now slots in for Eyeball Collection. There aren't very many times throughout the season where we have one champ featured for multiple roles in our solo carry videos, but there's an exception right now, and that champ is Warwick. Top lane and jungle Warwick are both absolutely incredible picks, and if you're someone who queues for top and jungle as your primary and secondary roles, taking advantage of Warwick is highly recommended. What really sets Warwick apart from most other junglers is his early skirmish and ability to move around the map extremely fast. Warwick's W grants him bonus movement speed towards enemies that are below 50% health, so it makes ganking and capitalizing on opportunities so much easier compared to most other junglers. If you want to play a jungler who can be very active early on and can take matters into his own hands right from the get-go, then Warwick is the best option for the current meta. Core build for jungle is the exact same that you run for top lane, however the order in which you purchase the items are swapped, as it's a Stridebreaker Rush into Blade of the Ruined King second. Very much like Nocturne, there's not really a specific jungle matchup that is decimating Warwick right now, so banning out a peel support who will disrupt your skirmish power like Lulu is a good idea. The optimal rune setup for Warwick consists of Lethal Tempo with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand, followed by Celerity and Water Walking for secondaries. So let's move on to our mid lane picks now, and starting us off is going to be Victor. The Victor update turned out to be extremely impactful, with the champ seeing a surge in both play rate and win rate. What's really nice about Victor right now is that he has two unique builds, so you can adapt really well to what the enemy team comp consists of. Against the majority squishy enemy team comp, you can grab Ludens into Lichbane and just look to burst harder with this build. Into tanks or fighters that you will need more extended fights to win out, going for Blackfire with Liandry's is going to work great. Optimal rune setup for Victor will be interesting to track to start the season, because there's a new rune being added to the sorcery tree called Axiom Arcanist, and it will be replacing Nullifying Orb. So the question will then become, does Axiom Arcanist provide more value than Mana Flow Ban? Axiom is going to increase your R damage by 14%, and getting a takedown will reduce your R's current cooldown by 7%. For someone like Victor, whose R can stay active in a fight for a very long duration due to the new reset mechanic, he should be a mid laner who wants to take Axiom more than most. Who knows, this new rune could make Victor even stronger than he already is, but we'll have to see just how powerful it is when we get to play it on live servers. Ban-wise for Victor, Akali is one of the better options right now, as she's one of the most played assassins, and her mobility and dive threat is difficult for Victor to manage. A mid lane champ who has remained a staple in our top 3 for quite some time now, who remains there to start the new season, is Ahri. Ahri is such a strong solo carry champion because she's very blind pickable and has the ability to completely take over games due to her catch power. The fact that you can cover such a large distance of space in such a short time with Ahri's R allows you to capitalize on enemies' mispositioning better than most champs, and this just gives you a lot of agency over how games play out. It's such low risk, high reward as well, because you got the 3 dashes from R, and if you dive in and don't land your charm, you're not completely hung out to dry, as you can use that last R charge to back away and disengage. The core build for Ahri right now just really unlocks her true potential because you have so much ability haste for your R cooldown. Malignance and Horizon Focus both offer up lots of ability haste so that you can be using your R as frequently as possible. There really isn't a must-ban mid laner for Ahri right now, but Sylas is a pretty good option, as he becomes quite difficult to contain when stealing Ahri's ultimate. There will be a shake-up to Ahri's rune page this season because of the removal of Eyeball Collection and the introduction of Axiom Arcanist. Electrocute with Taste of Blood and Ultimate Hunter will remain core primary runes, while Transcendence should continue to slot in as a secondary rune, but once the patch goes live, we'll have to track what the best options become to replace Eyeball Collection. And for the third solo carry mid laner of the patch, we rounded out with Vex. It's actually crazy how consistently powerful Vex has been over the course of the past few months, as we have had her rated in the S tier or above for a very long time. Even with Vex in a really good spot, it's unlikely she actually gets nerfed due to her lower play rate, so putting some time into Vex and having her as a champ you can pull out is extremely worthwhile. Even if you simply use Vex as a counter pick only, you will get so much value out of the champ because she hard counters so many of the most annoying mid lane champs. If you're someone who hates playing against Sylas, Yasuo, LeBlanc, or Yone, then Vex is the answer, as her kit completely shuts down what those champs are looking to do. The core build for Vex consists of Eluden's Rush into Shadowflame 2nd and Zanya's or Rabadon's 3rd. It's Electrocute for the Keystone rune with Taste of Blood and Ultimate Hunter, while the 2nd row rune will be up in the air for the first while due to Eyeball Collection being removed. Best secondaries are Mana Flow and Transcendence. Best ban in meta right now if you plan on picking Vex is Victor, as his longer range poke and self-peel with W makes it more difficult for Vex to thrive. Moving on to our top 3 picks down in the bot lane, Miss Fortune is a really good yet more underrated ADC right now. Over the past couple of months, we've seen a bunch of ADCs tagged with nerfs, while MF was one of the few who got buffed, so it's opened things up for her to rise in priority again. With MF in a strong state, there's no reason to not have her in your champion pool if your main goal is to climb, because she's so easy to be impactful with. The meta build right now consists of going lethality, and this just makes her even easier to pilot because so much of her damage is upfront burst, and you're less reliant on perfect auto weaving to dish out DPS. R hits incredibly hard with the lethality setup as well, so you can just bring so much to the team without needing any mechanical skill at all. Since Miss Fortune is a champ who lacks a gap closer, it's never a bad idea to use your ban on a meta dive champ, and right now Warwick is a really good option. The best Keystone rune for Miss Fortune consists of First Strike with Cashback, Biscuits, and Jack of all trades, while Mana Flow and Gathering Storm are for secondaries. For our second solo carry ADC, we really like Corki right now. Something that really sets Corki apart from most other ADCs is that he's much more burst oriented as opposed to dealing consistent damage over time. Especially when you have Trinity Force completed, a full rotation of spells with Corki is going to outtrade pretty much every other ADC in the game. Now, if you can pick Corki when your support locks a melee engaged champion, then Corki becomes even more insane, because playing with a CC support just means landing his Q and R becomes guaranteed and leads to an incredibly deadly all-in. You should be looking to play towards that Trinity Force spike in every game with Corki, and when you have it, really try to be proactive. If you have Trinity completed and the ADC is still sitting on their components, you're going to win the 2v2 every single time, so paying attention to these item disparities is really key with any champ you play, but even more so with Corki. Corki being a shorter ranged ADC is going to have a bit more of a difficult time in lane against the likes of Caitlyn or Ashe, so banning one of them out is a good idea. Your rune page should revolve around Conqueror with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Cutdown, while Biscuits and Jack of all trades are for secondaries. And to round out the top 3 for ADC this patch, we've got Sivir. Very much like Miss Fortune, Sivir has been flying under the radar as of late due to the many ADCs that have been nerfed in recent patches. The fact that both Miss Fortune and Sivir are in really good spots right now is perfect if you're an Emerald or below, because both champs are even more powerful for the lower ranks. With Sivir, you have the ability to stall out games incredibly well due to all the wave clear she provides, and this means you're never really completely out of a game even if you fall behind early. Vice versa though, if you get ahead with Sivir, she's equally as powerful, as you can push leads and look to initiate fights with the movement speed from R. So whether ahead or behind, you can bring value to your team with Sivir, which is not something that the majority of ADCs can say. Essence Reaver Rush works great on Sivir as it helps to keep her topped up on mana so that she can continuously spam out her Q and W to chew through waves. Second item, Flicker Blades, is amazing as you reduce the cooldown on your basic abilities when attacking so that your extended fight strength is insanely powerful. With Sivir's R and Spell Shield, she's got some pretty good self-peel, but can still be vulnerable to very heavy dives, so using your ban on Nocturne or Warwick is good value right now. Sivir's best rune page consists of Lethal Tempo with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Cutdown, followed by Free Boots and Biscuits for secondaries. One of the most powerful pure solo solo carries down in the support role to start off this new season is Vel'Koz. Towards the end of Season 14, Vel'Koz received some really nice cooldown buffs that ended up pushing him over the top. The new rune being added to the game called Axiom Arcanist should make Vel even more powerful moving forward. The kill threat that Vel'Koz has with his R available is incredible, and the fact Axiom Arcanist increases his R damage by 14% will make those all-in plays at level 6 that much more insane. Axiom Arcanist is also going to reduce Vel's R cooldown by 7% when scoring a takedown, so when you combine this with the fact Vel's R cooldown was just buffed a while back, shaving off 20 seconds at rank 1, the uptime on the spell is going to be so much greater than in previous seasons. We'll have to see if Axiom does actually end up being viable though, because the only issue with running the rune is that you can't run Mana Flow Ban, and since the meta build for Vel right now does not involve him rushing Ludens, he may run into mana troubles by continuing to rush Horizon Focus. Ludens rush honestly isn't even that far behind Horizon Focus power-wise, so if the value from Axiom Arcanist does end up being really high, you likely just go back to rushing Ludens moving forward. So there's two potential builds that you can run on Vel'Koz to start off the new season, one that involves Ludens and one that does not. And of course, it's going to be Realm Spike for your item upgrade regardless of what item you rush. Matchup-wise for Vel'Koz, he doesn't like playing into champs with long-range engage threat, as spacing around that can be more difficult, so banning out Pyke is good value. A support who in the past wasn't really known for his solo carry prowess, but who's got a lot of strength right now is Tahm Kench. Tahm is some of the best skirmish power for any support in the game, and his all-in power at level 6 is absolutely amazing. Where Tahm differentiates from most melee supports, and what gives him so much more solo carry power, is that his most optimal rush item consists of Heartsteel. Rushing Heartsteel adds so much more raw carry power to the champ because his damage output and tankiness are both insanely high. If you've got your Heartsteel completed and the enemy ADC is not super far ahead, you will be able to 1v1 them with ease, while the 2v2 power is just as good. Matchup-wise for Tahm, he's going to struggle more against champs who have really good peel power, so using your ban on Janna or Lulu is what we'd advise. Ideally, you want to be picking Tahm when the enemy support locks a melee champ, as he loves champs that need to dive into him to utilize their kit. As for Tahm's rune page, it's going to be Grasp for the Keystone rune, so that your skirmish is even stronger, followed by Shield Bash, Second Wind, and Unflinching, while Triumph and Alacrity are for secondaries. One support we've had in the solo carry top 3 countless times throughout Season 14, who's right back in here to kick off the new season, is Poppy. There's so much to like about Poppy when it comes down to a carry from the support role, as she has so many different ways to impact games. The damage output of Poppy is amazing for a support, as you can chunk an enemy squishy for around half their health early on by getting an E stun off. Poppy's W having the grounding effect makes her such a good answer to champs like Leona, Rel, Nautilus, and Thresh, who are all very commonly played in the role. Roaming with Poppy is very powerful because she's going to rush Swiftness boots, and combined with the movement speed you get from W, it's very easy to just walk right in behind the enemy and knock them back into your team with E. A good Poppy R can completely shift the tides of a game, especially when fighting around Baron or Dragon, as knocking the enemy jungler away from a fight can single-handedly win your team that objective. The list just goes on and on, so if you're looking for a strong melee support to pick up right now and you don't like Tahm Kench, Poppy is another great option. The standard core build for Poppy revolves around a Deadman's Plate rush into Locket second, while Bloodsong is the item upgrade. A more annoying matchup in meta right now that you should consider banning when picking Poppy is Lulu, as her peel power makes it way more difficult to capitalize on pick plays with Poppy. It's Hail of Blades for the Keystone rune with Sudden Impact and Relentless Hunter, but Zombie Ward is being removed, so it will be interesting to see which new option takes its place. There are 3 brand new runes being added to the second row of the domination tree, and all of them are themed around vision control, so it's tough to say which one will actually end up being the most optimal. We'll be sure to keep you guys updated though in future videos once we see the runes played on live servers. Alright guys, don't forget to check out our brand new Season 15 starter course at SkillCapped if you want to get way ahead in the new season. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.